So this video will be all about learning how to complete your first texture on your texture tile known as piercing. What I'm going to specifically pierce in this video is the heart shape, and you will be piercing whatever shape you have in the center of your sketch. You're literally cutting it out. It will act as a hole in the center of your tile. So I'm going to have a heart-shaped hole later in the middle of my tile. I want you to take a paper clip and unravel it if you haven't done that with a previous clay kit. That will be your cutting tool. That's what we're going to use to pierce the heart. And we're also going to pre-cut and score the heart with that tool as well. Also keep a paintbrush handy with the stiff, dry bristles. There's like a off-white color bristle. Make sure you're working on a hard surface. I've got my painter's palette here that I'm mimicking as a hard surface. So kind of work like directly on a tabletop, not carpeting, if you can help it. I'm going to be holding my tile a lot, holding it up with my hand close to the camera, but I don't recommend you do that. So do as I say, not as I do. You're going to be doing this directly on a tabletop. I'm holding my tile up so you can see what I'm doing. First things first, take your unraveled paper clip and literally bust through your tile near that shape. If you've got a star shape or an alphabet letter, kind of start at the top and essentially pierce through that tile and make a hole. And then I want you to make a series of several holes. So it looks like there's bullet holes kind of outlining your shape. Take a peek at the back of the tile to see that you are actually literally piercing through. You want to go all the way through to the point where you hear a knocking sound with your paper clip. You should hear the paper clip come into contact with your tabletop. That's how you know you've actually gone all the way through the clay, the tile, fully. We're not going to use a butter knife or anything to do this. The best way to pierce a hole is with a skinny paper clip. So this is scoring, essentially. This is a scoring technique, pre-cut. And just do multiple holes, again, like bullet holes outlining your shape. Have your holes relatively close together. You might have to clean your paper clip tool every now and then. And I could probably afford to have my holes even closer together if I wanted to. And just go all the way around. Go completely around your shape, whatever your shape happens to be. So mine happens to be a heart. Yours might be a star or a triangle or some alphabet letter. Again, take a peek at the back. Make sure you have fully pierced through. Some holes might look more pierced than others. That's okay. And then put your tile back on your surface after you've inspected the back. You might need a sponge to clean your paperclip tool. It's going to get pretty muddied after scoring all those holes, so make sure it's nice and clean, because now we're going to use that same paperclip tool as a knife, essentially. We're going to use it now as a cutting tool. So it just acted as a scoring tool. Now it's going to be a cutting tool for us. So work directly on your tabletop, and your paperclip tool should be pointed up towards the ceiling. And then essentially you're just going to drag right over all your holes. And you're cutting over all your bullet holes, basically. And it should be fairly easy to cut through the clay and cut out your shape because you've got those holes in place. Again, those holes act as a pre-cut. Don't worry if part of your shape becomes slightly misshapen or distorted. We'll be able to clean that up later. And don't contort your whole body while cutting. Just turn the tile, rotate the tile so that you can get to your shape easy. Work smart, not hard. Us lefties like to contort our whole body doing stuff like this, but I've learned to turn the tile, not turn my body, not turn my arm. Again, your paperclip tool will get a little clogged and muddied as you're cutting. If you are going to stop to clean your tool and kind of interrupt yourself, just make sure you're carefully going back into the shape and continuing to cut where you left off. Now, that margin of clay around your shape is going to be weak. I don't recommend using your thumb to push that piece through after you're done piercing. Don't use any fingertips if you can help it. Instead, maybe use a pencil or a pen and gently push that cutout piece through. But be careful not to stress out the rest of the tile, because that does put strain on your margin, your remaining leftover tile, if you kind of bust that piece through too quickly or too harshly. Keep that fallout piece as well. We can recycle that. That might be able to act as a texture later on that I'll teach you all about. Or it may not work out, but let's give ourselves the option. And if it doesn't work out, you've got yourself like a heart-shaped necklace charm or something like that. Now, anytime you have freshly cut clay, as usual, you're going to have jagged, ugly areas, and it will look freshly cut and not clean and smooth. So now it's time to take our piercing and clean it up, and you're going to want to do that with a pretty wet paintbrush. So just go round and round with your paintbrush, trying not to distort your piercing, but at the same time rounding off and smoothing edges. So it's a little bit of a balance. And you're just cleaning the top, cleaning those inner walls, and still trying to maintain that shape, that initial shape. If you're noticing some distortion, or if the walls look a little uneven, take your paperclip tool again, stand it straight up, pointing towards the ceiling, and use it to scrape the inner wall. So just do kind of a back and forth scraping, and that'll help get your shape back on target the way you want it. Clean your tool as needed if it gets muddied. So I'm just trying to make both sides of my heart symmetrical and matchy-matchy. And then I go back to a wet paintbrush, so it's a little bit of a back and forth. You can even use your pinky to smooth out edges. I don't recommend any other fingertip except your pinky, because when you work with your pinky, it forces you to be gentle. Your other fingertips will cause you to hulk out probably, but we're all kind of gentle when we use our pinky by nature. And that is piercing.